Hey guys, welcome to Sin City Cycling. I am Orlando, and today in my shop is my 2018 Specialized Venge. Recently, I've decided to drop the bars. I spent about a year or so getting strong enough to ride really low to pick up a few miles an hour. Anyway, I just recently dropped the bars, and we got this huge stack here that I want to get rid of. And also, to drop the bars, I'm going to need to shorten the shorten the cables here so they're not as bulbous. So I picked up some things that I'm going to use, and let's go ahead and take a look at that first. Okay, here's some of the things I picked up to do the job. We have a road shift cable kit from Shimano, Amazon. We have the brake cable set from Amazon as well. I picked this up. This was about 24 bucks, which is about half the cost of the Park Tool one, and is pretty solid here. But I'm going to use that to actually hold the steer tube, so I can use a hacksaw to cut off the excess. These are obviously the little cable guides that I'm going to insert to be able to pull out the old cables and insert the new ones. And this is a kit that I picked up. It is heat shrink tubing. If you look here on my old cable set, I've used electric tape to kind of put them together. I don't know, I thought it would, make me more aerodynamic, and, anyway, that's why I did that. So instead of using the electric tape, this time I'm going to use heat shrink tubing to hold them together. And if there's any touching the frame, I'm also going to use the heat shrink tubing on the area of the cable that touches the frame as well. I don't think we're going to have that issue, but I mostly bought these to hold the cables together and to make me faster. So anyway, let's go ahead and disconnect the cables on our bike, and we'll start running the tubage, and I'm hoping to at least get all the way down to the bars here. Obviously, I'm going to have to undo the bar tape to access the cables. They run through the bars here, so my idea is to tape the new ones onto the end of the old ones and then pull them through. So we'll see how well that works. So let's go ahead and get into this job. I apologize for all the constant fucking noise here, but if I waited for everything to fucking stop, we'd never get any of this fucking work done. Yeah, no, please, go through real slow and take a nice good look. I'll send you a link, you can watch me later too. Okay, and you want to save that thing if you guys are running the modern Shimano group set for the front derailleur. So the last couple generations, they've had this little cap that reroutes the cable so it stays out of the way when you're pedaling. Okay, that's the front. Alright. Cable. You know what, I'll save this one, considering the new one will probably be just as long, so put that off to the side. There's a little thing in here that guides the cable for you, so put that in there. And I'm going to take the tube and hopefully not have an issue running it up to the intersection. Okay, there's our first tube for the rear run. Okay, now I'll need to run another tube that goes up to the top here. So let's go ahead and start feeding that one. And you don't have to do it this way. They do sell some frame guide cable thingies. I've seen them on Amazon, and I say thingy because I'm not quite sure how they're used. So I'm assuming that they just roll into the frame and use a magnet or something. And I'm pretty sure once I get this in here, I should be able to pull it through. So let's go ahead and try and do that. can see the tube down here. So that's our cable guide from the front. So now I can completely remove the cable from the frame and rest assured that I have a way to get the new one in. Hopefully I'll be able to unwrap this stuff because this bar tape isn't that old, so I'd like to save it if that's possible. So I'm going to do this extremely careful like. And I'm just going to unravel to the base of the shifter. Yeah, I know, my shop's literally on the highway. Just need to get to the area that has our cable outers pushed into it, and I can see it right there. Okay, so. Alright, now I am removing the shift cable. I have to pull this back and undo it all. Which is you. Okay. And this is how most of the last couple of generations of Shimano are. The shift cable is going to come out here. I think I'm going to size the new ones off of these old ones before I completely remove them. So let me remove the cables, that way I can trim them, and I can see exactly where I want the new ones to go. Okay, and the brakes go right here behind the hood, or the lever I should say, but you can see it comes out right here. And sometimes you got to remove this little plate here, but I mean, I can access it without having to do that, so. Okay, now rear cables are completely removed. And of course it's too fucking dark to see anything, so come on. You know you want to come out of there. Come out of your home. Okay, that's the front. I'm just removing this top cap first so I can mark the steer tube here, and then I'll remove the forks. Well, you don't really have to, but I'm going to go ahead and remove the brake anyway, so that way I could get a good handle on the fork when I'm cutting it. And I actually didn't buy a carbon specific blade, so I'm hoping I don't fuck shit up here. Because they do recommend that you use a carbon specific blade, but I am going to put on some masking tape and hope that it doesn't fray when I remove it. Why won't you come off? What the hell? Should just slide out, man. Swear to God, whenever I try to do something, it always seems like it's 1,000 times harder than it's supposed to be. Why are you stuck? I'm going to reinstall this bolt here so I don't lose it. Okay, set that aside. And I'm going to mark the top of the stem here. Okay. And I should be able to remove the bars now. And don't forget to remove this little locking clamp here. Matter of fact, I'll do it before I remove the forks. Well, come out of there. What is the deal? Should just come off, man. Come off. All right, I don't know why that won't come off. Oh, dirt. I bet it's because the fucking stem is still tight on here. Yeah, let me go ahead and grab the fork so I don't drop it. And that's the wrong fucking size. I might actually service these bearings once we have this out of here too. Okay. There. So that was on top. Okay. Okay, there's our fork. Looks like it's carbon paste or maybe just grease. Yeah, I think these are okay. Okay, so I took this apart and was having some serious issues trying to remove this expander wedge. Boy, you can see it. Anyway, it fits into the fork here at the top, but I had to make kind of like a slide hammer to remove it. Let's see if I can show you what I did to get it out. Okay. Sorry, I should have left it together before I showed you guys how I got it out of there. So anyway, I set up this contraption here. You just fucking see it. Okay, so it slides back and forth. And I had to fish the head of this bolt. So I had to fish the head of this bolt, which, let's see here. It sits in here like this. And I had to keep hammering it out until the plug came out. So I actually had to look up onto YouTube how this fucking thing came apart. I've never encountered a steer plug like this. I'm assuming that it's going to be proprietary to Specialized. But man, that was a bitch. This took me probably about an hour to figure out and to get out of there. So now that I understand how they come out, I'll know how to put it back together. So anyway, I had to loosen this this bolt here first, and then tap it down with a hammer, which knocks away this bottom piece here. Okay, so once that's knocked out, I can remove the bolt, and you're left with this other wedge here on the top, and that's how I used the little slide hammer deal there and pulled that out. So, but yeah. Was not expecting to have that big of a hassle trying to do something like that. So, all right, so now it's all good to go. And now I can take the measurements on my fork and make the cutting. You guys can see. Okay. I'm going to measure 3 millimeters down. Now comes the stuff that you can't come back from, and that's cutting it. So you want to make sure that you got it exactly the way you're going to cut it. Let's see if I can see this through there. Okay, this is day 2 for me. Obviously, you guys are watching the video, so it's going to be a quick transition for you. Let me grab this real quick. So, I was getting ready to cut the steer tube on my forks for my 2018 Specialized Venge, and I was going to use the regular hacksaw saw blade, and I decided not to, considering how expensive the Venge is. So what I did was I went and found an equivalent blade on Amazon that wasn't Park Tool. This was, I believe, like $5. I'll leave a link down in the description if you guys want to check out the things I've purchased. But we're going to go ahead and use a it's carbide grit blade. It doesn't say it's specifically for carbon fiber. It does have fiberglass on here, which is a similar type of medium. Obviously, carbon fiber is a little bit harder, but this is exactly what the Park Tool saw blade is made out of. So it's just a little bit more because it says Park Tool on it. Anyway, we're going to go ahead, trim down the fork tube, and then we're going to start reassembling everything, redoing the cables, and wrapping up everything so I can ride this at a race I have coming up. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, so I had the fork already set to cut, but the blade that I have doesn't fit into the, what's the thing, the saw guide. So, yeah. So I kind of butted it up to the end here, and I'm gonna try and saw it from the back. Yeah, I feel about as good as that sounds. So I guess we'll see how that turns out. Yeah, I'm a little worried. So I'm not sure if I should go with the regular saw blade, which fits in there and will assure that I get a decent cut, but it could possibly fray the carbon fiber, or go with the saw blade that is for a carbon fiber type of surface, I guess. So yeah, I guess we'll see. Looks like I'm gonna have to go with the regular blade. It's the only way I'm going to be able to get a straight cut. Thankfully, I didn't pay too much for the grit blade there. And I suppose if I wasn't trying to save money and I went with the Park Tool saw guide, that it would work. Because I have used a friend's saw guide and that blade fit just fine. So I'm assuming that it's a problem that's associated with the saw guide that I bought that was cheaper. So you know me, I'm always trying to do things cheaper, and sometimes it just doesn't work out, and we have to go a different direction. Yeah, so the carbon fiber dust is really not good for you, so. I will say that this is taking a lot longer than my experience cutting my other fork on the AliExpress bike. All right, well, for better or for worse, it is off. A rounded file for the inside edge. All right, well, expensive fork or not. All right, well, that looks pretty clean. Does look like it did its job. All right, and it does feel like it cut it pretty cleanly. Okay. Let me get some alcohol on this and we'll clean it off. Just want to make sure that I get all of the WD-40 off of here. I really don't want to rub my finger on the inside of that, so. Okay. Seems to be all right. Okay. All right, so there's our cut steer tube. Here's the piece that we removed. So I used a regular hacksaw and you can see that it cut it pretty evenly. So don't necessarily do what I do, but if that's all you have, it does appear that a regular hacksaw will work. It does feel like I have a little bit of burr. So I'm gonna go around, make sure it's deburred. Make sure if you're cutting this shit, you're doing it in a well-ventilated area, because it is definitely not good to breathe. You know, I didn't think of that. I suppose if I put a washer, I could have made the slot bigger on the saw guide. Anyway, I guess for next time. At least we know now that you can use a regular saw blade on carbon, and it's going to still be okay. At least if it's high quality carbon like Specialized uses. And I have most of the burrs off and it feels decent. Okay, next thing I'm gonna do here is remove these head tube bearings and re-grease and clean the orifice out. So usually these can just be pulled out. I don't know why we can't, yeah. Usually these can just be pulled out and you can see all the grime on the outside. So I'm just going to clean that off. And that's obviously from all the riding. And I'm going to use a sharp knife to pull the seal. And then I'm going to clean with alcohol and then reinsert good grease and redo the seal. All right, so there's that one clean. Get this hole out. There's a lot of nastiness in there. Okay. It looks like they put a lot of assembly lube on here, and I'm assuming that's to keep the water out. And let me see, okay. Now generally there's one on top bearing and one on the bottom. So here's the one on the bottom, and this one looks way dirtier. So let's go ahead and clean that up real good. Okay. And you can see here the seal, or maybe you can't because it's black, just like the color of the bearing, or maybe that's just because there's just dirt on it. But I'm hoping that I'll be able to pull these seals and add more grease. Okay, so let me clean out that hole. And I will add some more bearing grease when I reinsert these. So that way at least it helps keep the water from ingressing. And it looks very clean on the inside. I don't want to rub my finger around because it's raw carbon in there. But let's go ahead and clean these and service these bearings, and that way we could start putting everything back together, and the bars will be slammed and I can start running the cables. So I'm going to use the old cables and trim them up so that way I can use those to size the new ones. All right. And this is just regular isopyl alcohol. I use 91%, and it works good for putting on grips, removing grips, and for degreasing. Hopefully I'll be able to pull that seal out, because sometimes these seals aren't removable. So I guess we'll find out. Oops. All right, well, I guess it's not going to be serviceable like some of the other bearings. And it does just look like an O-ring. It's got a curved shape to the top of it, so I don't know why it won't just pop out of there. I also don't want to stab myself in the finger. All right, well, let's try this one. We could at least clean them. I didn't price these. I bet I could probably see how much they are, but I just want to get my bike back together. That one sounds real great. This is the one that's on the bottom, so this one gets more dirt than the other one. It's like I can get under it, but I just can't get it out of there. Like I said, I don't want to fucking force too much of it and ruin it, especially if these aren't serviceable. All the other bearings that I've opened up were very simple to do. And this one just does not want to play. See, I'm under it, but I can't seem to get it out of there. Let me see if I can grab a pick. Okay, it looks like I got it here. All right. Oh, shit. Okay, there's that. And there we can see our bearings. So I don't think that these come out. Oh, maybe it does. I'm going to try and leave it in there. I don't want to take too much of it apart. So, some alcohol on there. You can see a lot of the road dirt. That's just actually dirt. Okay. apparently the whole thing can come apart, so be careful that you take note of how this shit goes back together. I'm hoping that these little ball bearings stay in there. You know what I'm going to do? It's in there. This is probably the only thing part tool that I use is the grease, so if that tells you anything. Alright, I'm going to try and put this thing back together, hopefully. Okay. Sure, I think it goes. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay, I've just added some grease, reinstalled the bearings, and now I'm starting the reassembly process of the front end here so we can start the cabling, but that's a lot of work just to slam your bars. Okay, and then these are little spacers. It helps with the binding when you're tightening on the bearing. So these sit on top, and that way the bearing doesn't stop moving when you start tightening it down. So, I don't know if you guys can see, but it has a direction for the stem, align with the stem. There's a little arrow here. So I'm going to try and make sure that that is aligned with the stem. So that will be forward. Okay. So far, everything looks proper. There's a little lug that goes in here that I'm not sure what I did with it. So hopefully I'll be able to relocate it because I'm going to need it to do bricks. Couldn't have went any farther than here. But somehow every time I'm working on something, I always seem to misplace something. Okay. Okay, now we can preload the bearings and retighten the stem. And this stuff we can always come back and redo, so, you know, worst case scenario, it's not tight enough, we can always come back and retighten it, so. And we'll come back to that, but that is our slam stem. Okay, I'm just gonna size and cut these old ones to where I roughly want the new ones to be. So they're still installed in here. So my idea is once I cut them down, I'm going to tape the new ones to the old ones and hopefully pull the new ones through this hole without having to fish them out. So that's my plan. Not sure how well it's going to work. So let's see. Let's remove. Think about like that. So because this one is the front brake and it needs to be able to reach the front brake, I'm going to go ahead and leave the length on that one. It should still be pretty much okay. Alright, let's go ahead and open these up and see what they come with. Alright, that's everything. It's just the things for the shifters. These little pieces here slide into the shifter. It's got a little notch on it, so it fits. I'm not going to move those until I finish. Let's just put those there. Cable. Alright, for the money they don't really give you a lot, but I guess it's not really something they need to do. Brake, and it looks like they already have the cables inserted into the line. I haven't quite decided how I'm going to get it through the bars here. My original idea was to attach them to the old ones and just pull them through, but I'm not sure how I'm going to get the size right. Brake. And the brake hardware. Oh, they only give you two. I think they would give you more than two. I guess I should have saved the ones that came off of there, huh? Okay, so I was initially gonna try and pull them through with the new cables, but that just wasn't working out. So I've completely removed these, and I'm gonna go ahead and size the new cables off of these. All right, try to do this other side here. I hope it was as easy as the last one. Oops, sorry, shit. I didn't know I was doing that to you guys. All right. Okay, I think that's a good stopping point. We've successfully routed the cable outers. All I need to do is line them up, and then I can start hooking up the cables, and then we can finish. Okay, we are on the final leg of this journey here, finally. And that is going to be the cabling. These are Shimano cables with the OptiSlick coating, which is this green stuff that's on the outside. Not sure if it really makes a difference, but it is proprietary, so I just really wanted to go quality on this time. Last time I replaced my cables with a bunch of cheaper cables that I got from various different locations, and I had an issue with them breaking. I think I've broken like 3 cables on this bike since I've got it. Okay. And once you get the hoods peeled back here, you can see the location where the cable's going to go. So you need to insert there and then follow it to the other side where there's a little cover. Oh, that's nice. I just hit my frame. Okay, make sure it's all out. Okay, once you shove the cable through there, you have this little cover here that's removable to allow you to move it around and get it where you want it. Once you got that on, you can put the little cover back and pull your cable through, and then we'll do the outers. Like I said before, it really isn't as much a how-to channel, but showing that you can ride a road bike and have it be affordable. That's one of the things with road bikes. It's just everything is so expensive, and you know, I wasn't able to afford the super expensive stuff, so I had to teach myself how to do everything. And I've never actually brought any of my bikes to a bike shop, even though I bought this bike at a bike shop. Okay. All right, and that's the little plastic piece that goes on the end of the cable. So. Okay. This is the brake. Working with these cables and this handlebar is a pain in the ass. Okay. And that's that side finished. I'm going to go ahead and retape it while I'm already working on it. So let me take these cables down here first. Not that they're going to go loose because they're already hella tight right there, but let's do it anyway. Thankfully, there isn't a sticky stuff on this one. It's just a grippy, rubbery side. And I'll probably still have to go back and straighten the bars, but it looks halfway decent. Okay, so I have decided to use the barrel adjuster here for the front derailleur. So that is it. I've already cut off a small piece to be the opposite end. So this is where them straws that I installed at the beginning come into play. So that way I don't have any issue trying to get the cables through the frame. Oh man, I forgot to add those shrink wrap tubing things that I was going to use to keep the lines together. Okay, now I'm just finishing the routing of the front derailleur. How the fuck it got wedged in there? Man, I gotta love that shit. Okay, there's our front. Okay. Now I can pull the tube. You see how handy these things are, man, if you just take the time to do them first. And I was going to use that shrink wrap tubing, but it just got to a point to where I didn't do it, and now I'm just far. Now this last tube is going to run to the back. All right, and this little, this little guide piece goes into the frame. I'm not sure if it goes up. I think it would point down. I mean, that just kind of makes sense the way it looks. Okay. Then I'm going to use this one as the template for the new one. Okay, and we are at the final bit here. Well, besides tuning. And this does not feel like enough. I don't think it's gonna be. What the fuck? How is that possible? All right, I am finally at the final bit here. I off camera had to retake everything apart because when I got to this point, the cable was too short. So I started to think that maybe the cables came in two different lengths. I'm just not used to that because I buy cheap ones that are all the same length apparently. So I was not ready for that. So I had to undo everything, rewrap the bars again, and refeed all of the tube through so I could run the cabling back through. So I essentially pretty much had to start all over again, but I didn't feel I needed to show you guys all that. Me bitching and complaining about having to redo things. So you guys got to remember, a lot of this stuff, I hadn't done until I started doing it on camera. I'd never built a bike until I bought the parts and, built the bike for YouTube. So, all that stuff was my first time through. And, I just wanted to show that road biking didn't have to be expensive. You could do these things yourself, and it wasn't, you know, an extremely difficult type of thing to accomplish. You know, they like to make it look like road bikes are this huge, you know, mystery, but, you know, in all actuality, you know, it's not too difficult to work on them. And, you know, I praise local bike shops. You know, people who need to go to those, you know, that's all good and great. It's just, you know, I'm a guy that doesn't have a lot of money, so I had to learn how to do everything myself. So I guess that's not a bad thing because I don't have to pay anyone to do work on my bikes. It just takes me time. All right. But I am glad that we were at the final steps. This was a long process, having to cut the steer tube and doing all this stuff over again, and some of it sucked. All right. Okay. Going the barrel adjuster in. And you want it all the way down, so when you start adjusting, you have the full range of adjustment that you can use on the barrel adjuster there. And as you saw earlier, I installed a barrel adjuster in the front, so I can adjust the front derailleur if I need be. There's not a lot of adjust in these. There is adjust, but it's just not a lot. Okay. You want to make sure you're in that bottom bit. Okay. All right. Now we can see if this shit works. Okay, that felt really weak on the pull, so I'm gonna try and pull some slack out of it. Ah, there it is. Okay, you want to make sure that all that slack is out of there. Sorry, I realize I'm putting my hand in front of you there. Again, I'm not that good at this shit. So, you know, I learned along the way how to edit video and, you know, fix pretty much everything on my bike. I've learned to fix myself, and, you know, with the help of YouTube as well. So, you too can be a bike mechanic. All right. Okay, now we've already triggered the first click on the derailleur or the shifter. So what we're looking for is that first jump. So I'm going to adjust the tension here by screwing it out until I get that first jump to happen. And because there's so much here, I'm going to assume that there's still slack in the line. So I'm going to go back out, down, however you want to. Oh, that's just great. Yeah, and there's still slack, so I'm not sure how that ended up happening since this is now the third time. Trying to get my hands just right so you can actually see what I'm doing here, so it's a little difficult. Okay, let's try this again. I actually saw it move a little bit that time, so I think we're going to be good this time around. And again, that was just the first click, so I'm just looking for the first jump. I'm not sure what's going on with this thing here. It looks like it's broken. It looks like I might have to figure it out. Okay. Oops, that was too far. And this barrel adjuster is like coming out of the derailleur, so that's what my issue is right here, see? And I'm not sure why it's doing that. So it's loaded in here on this little spring. I don't know if you guys can see here. And then it has threads at the bottom here. So it needs to thread into the derailleur, and it was coming out. So hopefully I'll be able to get that back in there. Okay, now I think it's on the derailleur. So it's like impossible to tighten if it's not actually in the derailleur, so it's not going to do anything, but now it looks like it is, so let's do this again. Take that click out of the shift. So third time's the charm, I'm hoping. And first click. Okay, I did see it move a little bit. There it is. And that clicking you can hear is from the front derailleur. I haven't actually adjusted it yet, so that's why it's making that noise. Oh, fuck. God damn it. Okay. So the cable wasn't all the way in the hole, so we don't have complete tension, so we can't tune. So start over, go back down. And I will probably edit all these mistakes out so it looks like I'm a pro. But I make frequent mistakes. Okay, fourth time. Oh, I see it. All right, there's our first jump. And there's everybody. Okay, so this is the derailleur adjust there. I'm going to wind it all the way out, kind of like we did in the back, but this is just a different looking adjustment. So this little half moon shape here that's underneath the nut, it has this little bolt that can push on it that is connected right here. That's how you adjust it. And I'm just making sure it's all the way in before I start laying the cable. That way we have the maximum of adjustment. Looks like it. Okay. And then we have this little piece next after we get the cable on there. So, okay. Take that down. Get in your home. Alright. Alright, finally. Okay. Okay, we're at the last bit. I apologize for the background noise, but other people live here, so can't always have things my way. But I had to undo a couple of things. There were some problems with the shifter I had to fix. I did that off camera. I had to rerun the line several times, which is not fun, but it was necessary. And I am on the final part, which is the brakes. Okay, and I screw out the adjust. Then I clamp into the rim, make sure the line is tight. All right. All right, I can live with that. Front and final. All right. I think we are finally there. Oh man, I just want to be done. This was a lot of a larger undertaking than I originally thought it was going to be. I figured I'd knock it out in a day, but that just has not been the case. Okay, final. Okay, and that is that. All right, this is the final look with everything lowered onto the ground. You can see the new slammed look, which I absolutely love. No smokestack. All the cables are done. Everything is rewired. We added the barrel adjuster here for the front derailleur. We had to redo the cables because I made a couple of mistakes, but you guys were along for most of the ride. Everything is all brand new. Cables new everywhere on the brakes. All right. And that is our new lowered stem and stack. So if I didn't like riding low, I'm gonna have to get used to it now, but that's not the case. But anyway, as always, I really hope you enjoyed watching me fumble through this one. I really appreciate you guys stopping by. And if you like the kind of things we do, please consider hitting that like and that subscribe. It really helps us out a lot. If you see something else that you want to see us do, or want to talk about something else, please feel free to hit us up in the comment section. I am always willing to answer questions or whatever other comments we have that come along. This has been Sin City Cycling. I am Orlando. I hope you enjoyed it. Peace.